today I'm really excited and really it's such a pleasure to be having Carol with us today. Carol has become an expert in speaking on a few different areas and more than these, I'm sure, but a few of the things that she's become an expert in speaking about are creating positive, uplifting workplace cultures. She'll be talking about effective communications. She'll be talking about managing people managers and what does that look like, and dealing with kind of people problems, and also kind of creating environments where our teams want to go to work. I know this is a challenging time for a lot of us, and she'll definitely be able to speak more to this, but she's become an internationally recognized speaker. So I'm very, happy to have her here today. And some of you might recognize her because she's spoken with us in the past. But if you can all join me in virtually welcoming Carol, feel free to wave in your camera if you have it on, and welcome Carol with us today. Thank you so much for being here. And you're welcome to share your screen, Carol, when you're ready.
Okay. All right, let's do this. Hello, everybody. This is so nice. This is wonderful. Thank you so much for taking the time to be here with me and to share some of these, valuable tips and insights with each other too. Please, I want you to use the chat to share ideas. I don't know everything. None of us know everything. We all learn from each other. And every time I speak at an event, I always learn from my audience. So I hope this is one of those times. And again, thank you for coming. So on my screen, you could see my current coworkers. I thought it would be interesting. I never share my family when I speak. And so I thought, in today's state of the state climate, it would be nice to kind of just be a little bit more relational with you. And it actually ties into some of the things that we're going to be talking about. So feel free to interrupt me at any time. Feel free to put it in the chat. Whatever works for you works for me. We're of course going to be talking about the do's and don'ts. And honestly, I don't know if that Smirnoff bottle belongs in the do's or in the don'ts. I think it really depends on the day. So we have a really quick poll. And so Chase, you'll set that up for us. I just want to ask you guys, so your leaders right now, if you were to describe your leaders in the state that they're in right now these days, which character best describes them in your organization? All right, I'm seeing Captain America. I don't know if you guys can see this. Can you guys see the poll too? Yes, okay, great. Okay. Notice that I put Hellboy at the, bottom right because he doesn't make me feel very good. So I kind of want to hide him a little bit. And Wonder Woman is huge. So let's see. Wow, we've got a little bit of everything, but I'm happy to see that Wonder Woman and Captain America are at the top. Also Terminator, but I'm guessing that Terminator is because unfortunately we've had to have some layoffs and some things that unfortunately we've had to do. Peter Pan is interesting that some of you chose that. That's great. All right. Well, I'm sorry for the two of you that have Hellboy and Maleficent. We should talk. Nobody needs that. All right. Well, thank you guys so much. This helps me. Okay, great. So as we go through this, let me know again if you want me to focus more on it, if you want to talk more about it, or if we could just move on. My clients over the last 2 or 3 months have been experiencing a ton of different things. And really, it depends on what industry they're in and their general mindset. So if they've had a fixed mindset and a very old school mindset, it's been really difficult for them. And if they've had a growth mindset and a kind of possibility thinking mindset, it's, even though they didn't agree with the work from home, it has become a lot easier for them to kind of let go of the old and get into the new. But these are some of the things that that have come up for me with my clients a lot. So a lot about the revenue, a lot about, gosh, we've laid off some people, not to mention some of these were good people. And now the people that are left are having to do a lot more with a lot less. So that's a big one. And then the ones that are expanding, my manufacturers, construction industry clients, they're expanding, they're thriving right now. And so there are some challenges that come with that too, because we want to make sure that we hire the right person for the right role at the right time. But here's what we don't always do. And this is what I really hope to get across, at least one of the things that I hope to get across to you in the do column. We need to use behavioral data to hire, because we always tend to hire for skills and experience, and we look at the resume and we say, oh yeah, this person's been in the industry and they've done this role and let's bring them on. And they're a terrible fit for the team. They might know their stuff on the skill level, but they're horrible on the team. And when we add somebody to the team or we take someone away from the team, it's a brand new team. Those team dynamics change completely. So I want to make sure that we really focus on data. Let's get some behavioral data when we hire so that we can predict future success. And then the culture. So some people are saying, our culture is in danger. And this is what we're doing to try to connect each other. And then some people are saying, the people that created a toxic culture, we're going to let them go now. And this is our opportunity to really recreate the culture. So we'll talk a little bit about how to do that. And then, of course, we've got, people that are loving staying at home. My son had to take 6 AP tests. When they said he had to stay home and not go to school, he's still his last one is tomorrow. He was elated. Not a problem ever these last 2 or 3 months. He's just loving that he can study all day long. My daughter, on the other hand, had a really hard time from the first 15 minutes, right? So what we're going to talk about where we all are at with all of this and how we could be in completely different places even though the same change has happened. And then what I'm getting a lot of is, gosh, Carol, I'm just tired. And it's not that I have little kids and it's not that I'm doing a ton more. It's just exhausting. And I think part of it is that we are not moving as much as we normally do too. But it's just a lot of Zoom, a lot of connection and no breaks in between. So that's another do. Please give yourself breaks. This is in the category of do as I say, not as I do. I'm working on it. Please give yourself breaks. Don't be like me. All right, so this is like, whose line is it anyway? So for 500 points in the chat, jot down what you think the answer to that is. These business problems. So when people come to me and they say, we've got some business problems, right? We've got some issues with not achieving our targets. Our sales folks are not bringing revenue in. All of these business problems, what do you think they're actually, what do you think the real problem is? Lack of direction and alignment? Yep, definitely. What else? Keeping them engaged, people, communication. Yep, absolutely. And even the alignment and lack of direction, it all stems from the people, right? They're the ones that are giving us that. And so every time somebody comes to me and they say, we're not achieving these results, these are our goals, these are the results, we're not getting there. What's the element that's always in the middle? It's the people, right? And nobody wants to touch the people side. I think that's why I'm so busy, because I love that side. It's always a puzzle to me, and it's so fun to try and figure out what is driving someone to behave a certain way. And so, of course, the business problems are solved by people, right? So the reason why I'm saying this, which might be very obvious to many of you, is because we get sidetracked and we focus on the wrong things. And so if something's not going according to plan, we think it's something else. And most of the time, really, all we have to do is shift on the people side. So one of the big questions that I've been getting is, geez, Carol, I don't even know what the heck is going on. I don't know what to do. And I'm supposed to lead these folks. I don't even know what to tell them. And they're asking me these questions. And honestly, I don't know the answer. But if I say I don't know the answer, they're going to feel like no one's manning the ship. What do I do, right? So here are some of the main concerns that I'm getting. If they're laying off people, maybe at some point I will be laid off too. And now that people are working from home, they're starting to feel more isolated and more distrustful of other colleagues. It's the distance bias. And so we will talk a little bit about how to create that psychological closeness so that we don't have those issues. But look, I mean, they have all of these questions that they want answered for themselves and for their staff. I'm not going to read it. I'll let you read it because all of you can read, and who wants to hear me talk more than I have to, right? And then these are some questions also that are coming up to me, right? So listen, what do we do? How do we know which leaders to go to for what, right? This guy, who honestly isn't a good leader ever, is taking the reins, and we feel that he's not doing a great job, but nobody can speak up. What do we do, right? These roles that we used to have, now we've had to pivot, and now these people don't have anything to do. We don't want to let them go. Oh, and you know, when you ask the questions, you find out in this area, we're completely overwhelmed, right? But these people don't know how to do that. And so now what, right? So we've been talking a lot about reskilling people. How do you cross-train them, and how do you do it quickly? And guess what it all comes down to? It comes down to their drivers, their needs, and their behaviors to determine who we can cross-train quickly and who's going to have that character, that strong character, but also that great attitude, where if it's completely out of their comfort zone, they're just going to get in there and do it, right? So having that people data is so, so important. Don't you love this guy? So I don't know if you guys have ever met a boss who feels like they can fix everything with just one thing. Reminds me of that movie, the Greek Wedding or something like that, right? And it's the Windex. You know, the dad always wanted to put Windex on everything. There are those leaders, you might know some, that are like, oh, we'll just throw this at it. We'll throw this. We'll just hire more people. We'll just do this. We'll do, you know, and they're just putting more problems into the problem instead of really focusing on what it is. And now the tensions are high. I'm seeing a lot of misalignment on what the solution should be. And when they're having layoffs, some people are making the wrong decisions. So if you're still in that space and you're still looking at maybe phasing layoffs or when to bring people back, remember that there's the fat and the bone. And we do not want to get rid of the bone, if at all possible. If you do get rid of the bone, you need to have a plan to bring them back before they go to a competitor or before they go somewhere else, because those are the people that we can't afford to lose. And unfortunately, we've had to lose some. So make sure you don't let them go without a plan to keep in touch and to make sure that they're going to come back to you. Okay, and of course we could talk about all this if you want offline. You know, if any of you need that, thank you, my big fat Greek wedding. That's it. I'm happy to do that, but we only have a little bit of time together, so I'm gonna go through a lot of stuff, and then we can definitely discuss more whenever you like. The other thing I tell my HR executives and my CEOs is, you know, make sure that you're okay before you help other people. And how do we get you to be okay, right? And so giving them those tools are really important. And one of the things that makes them feel better is literally if they have someone just helping them reframe everything, right? Think about what's not changing. Think about the things that are really important, right? the the metrics and all of that stuff can change. Right? People make money, people lose money. But what are really the important things in your life? And how much are we paying attention to that not changing? Hopefully, if it's a good situation, it's not changing. If it's not a good situation, well, that's another conversation. We're talking about divorce lawyers and criminal lawyers. Hopefully not too many criminal lawyers having a lot of work after this, but we want to focus on the good stuff and the stuff that's not changing, and slowly bring them out of that valley, out of the ditch that they're in, because they can't lead from there. It's very hard. Otherwise, people are just looking down, looking for them in the ditch, right? So we need to elevate them and get them to lead. One of the things that we can do is teach them how to speak human. So, have a time where all of the executives, all the people managers get together and they talk about human things, not business things, just human things that they're coming across. That's really, really hugely important. And if you know a lot of executives that, like I do, that are, they don't really speak human. They would rather speak process. They'd rather speak, business. And they have a hard time with that, right? So let's teach them. Let's teach them how to do that. This is the perfect time to do that. How to be more relational, right? I have one of my CEOs who has a big index card, one of the big, huge ones with a big heart, just to remind him to have a little heart when he talks to people. And sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. It's work in progress, but we can teach them how to speak this new language. All right, so what do you think this answer is? Yes, they do have a heart, Vilma. Put something in there, guys. What do you guys think? Just take a gander. I mean, just take a guess, a gander. Yes, that's it. That's exactly right? So it's the more you need them. This is my attempt at involving my audience. I don't know if it's working, but let's just keep trying. Thank you for those of you who have put some in there. And that's the irony, right? Most of the time when people call me, if it's a CEO or a COO or a managing partner at a law firm or a surgeon, and they're like, I need you to work with this person, but they don't think they need it. They don't think they're, they think everything's fine with them, right? And that's the irony, is that the ones that do need it the most, and the ones that are so open and have that growth mindset are actually much more self-aware and more down the path than the other ones. So I don't know if you guys have seen this, but I thought this was very interesting. Gallup put out a poll, and they found that 60% of the people that are now working from home that weren't working from home before want to continue. And that 70% of us that are working from home actually think we're getting more done, or at least the same done. So I think that's interesting, because there are two camps. And the ones that are okay working from home really do see this office as being a factory of interruption, right? And you go into the office and people come into your cubicle and they just take time away and they suck up time little by little by little. And then your to-do list just got longer and you didn't get anything done, right? Or you have meeting after meeting after meeting, and then you meet at the water cooler, or there's more gossip when you're in the office. And so there's this notion of, this is great, I can get some focused work time in, and I'm a lot more productive. It's a little different with my clients that have younger kids, right? And they have to do the schooling, they have a lot of interruptions. But for the most part, most of what I'm seeing and hearing is that that the people that are happy to stay home, it's because of all those interruptions. Now, what if you have a CEO? Or what if all of your executives are like some of my clients that say, no, I need them to be in the office, right? I don't care if they're producing at home, but I need to see them to make sure that they're working. And even through, these 2-3 months, they still feel that way. And so what I would say to you to coach them, to help them understand and kind of get with the program, if you do think that remote work is part of the answer going forward, is to ask them questions. So don't tell them anything, just ask them, like, out of curiosity, so do you think that there are talented people that can really help us with our goals in the company that don't live very close to us? And do you think that sometimes things get done in places outside the office that are actually better than the work that gets done in the office? Is that possible? Right? And so just get them to start thinking about it, but also get them to say it themselves. Okay. Some folks are struggling. Some teams are struggling with staying at home. And what we're seeing, and this is from McKinsey, what we're seeing is that if you were conflict averse before, it's gotten worse. So now you have an excuse to not reach out and deal with whatever stuff you have to deal with. So we're seeing that 84%, that's the fourth number over there, 84% feel like things are just not being taken care of when they need to be taken care of. Now, this poll was taken in March when this whole thing started. I wonder if the numbers have shifted a little bit. And then the number that alarms me is the 41%. So the 41% related to how much they trusted their colleagues if they were remote. So if they weren't in the same place, and they distrusted them more if they weren't able to be with them. And there again is the distance bias. If we don't see someone, we're less likely to trust them. I wish I could do a whole thing now on nonverbals and on Zoom and everything else, and what to do when you're speaking to gain trust from people and what not to do. But it's really interesting, right? And if they're in the same place, it's still, there's still a level of distrust. They're at 31%, but it's interesting how it started to get bigger and bigger. So I wanted to share that with you because it has to be done right. Lots of things that we can do to create that psychological piece, that psychological closeness when we can't have the physical closeness. And one of the things that I put up on the left there is something that so Blueboard, I love Blueboard. I don't know if you guys know them, but they have this really cool thing where you can actually go to blueboard.com. I have it up on the screen. Go to blueboard.com and go, I think it's /liftup. And they just have you fill out this thing. It takes a minute to who you want to send it to. And it's a big kudos. And I just tried it out with my assistant, Maggie. And that's the email that she got. And it was really surprising to get something via email for her for that, because we usually talk on Slack, and just to see it come in just kind of made her day, right? It was a different thing. And just to know that somebody cares and they're thinking about you, and you can send it to anybody. I was thinking of sending it to my husband. Anyway, so there's a lot of stuff that you can do to create that deep connection that we really crave. And one of those things also is have them lead sessions. I think many of you probably are already doing that, but have them lead some, cooking sessions, yoga sessions, just to connect again on that relational side with other people. Communication, of course, has to be part of this presentation, right? So just remember the letters CSF, right? We want it to be clear, we want it to be simple, and we want it to be frequent. So if your executives need help with that, help them, okay? And if they say, no, I think we've communicated enough, it's better to over-communicate than to under-communicate, especially in situations like this where we're going through so much change. It's also better if they can do a quick video, because seeing someone's face actually elevates trust, right? So if you can get them to just there are several things several apps that you can use. I use Loom. There's also Wistia, and there's a few other ones. It's really easy, and you can embed it in the email, but it's so much better than an email, and just seeing how they transfer the tone in video and seeing the trust that it's building is just phenomenal. So if you can get them to start doing that, that would be great. What not to do is to just keep sending out a whole bunch of emails with a lot of words on them that just give people headaches, right? We don't want to do that. The other thing that I want to make sure that we start doing is we need to start telling people why, right? So if he's gonna or she's gonna communicate something to their staff or to the whole employee population, let's just say that it's on video, because that would be great. Make sure that you coach them on also explaining the why, because you know the obvious reason, right? I mean, it's respectful to tell people why, because they're adults and they should know why we're doing something, but there's something deeper than that. If you tell someone the why of why they have to do this new thing differently, what happens is that you start creating a culture of empowerment, because now they can start to make their own innovative decisions and think more creatively, because if they understand the why, maybe they have a better way of doing that and still achieving the same thing versus just saying, do this, right? So that's a big one too, that I think is helping a lot. That those red letters are or disconnection happens. And we're going to see that throughout, right? So that's what I want you to remember is if we don't do the do's, we're going to find disconnection. And if we find disconnection, we're going to see that our results go down. And God forbid, then we do have to worry about more layoffs, right? I mentioned to you that people managers are constantly asking me, what do I say if they ask me, will I have a job? Or, is this company surviving? I really don't know. And yes, I'm the CEO, right? And so what I say, and what you can tell your executives too, is, just focus on what we do know and what we can do and how we will base our decisions. And that third part is the most important piece that everybody forgets to do. So you can say something like, listen, here's the thing. We aren't exactly clear on the path, but I am clear on this, that our values are A, B, and C, and that every decision we make are going to be based on those values. And so that, again, is very, very powerful. Okay, here's some more, just a lot of little things, and I'm happy to send you this PowerPoint so that we don't spend time on it now. But here's the thing. You guys, many of you are HR. I see some of you are presidents or CEOs, and whether you're the president, the CEO, coaching other leaders, whether you're an executive coaching your CEO, whether you're an HR executive coaching your CEO, this is your moment to help them understand how to shine. Because what did Maya Angelou say? She said, they don't remember how you or what you did, but they remember how you made them feel, right? And the tracks that you leave now are going to be remembered for a long time to come, because people are in crisis mode and they're going to remember how you made them feel. And so your job is to elevate these people, get them out of the ditch and get them back to leading, and let them know that they've got this, right? This is their moment. And what we do at this moment is critical, and that they're not alone, right? So give them that support. Of course, give them my phone number if they need that pick me up. If I need to get them out of the ditch, I will do it, right? I won't charge you. I will get them out of the ditch, but we need to get them out as quickly as possible. And remind them that resilience is just literally a muscle. And every time you flex it, every time you have to get up when you're knocked down, it becomes stronger and stronger. It becomes easier and easier to do that. The board had this graphic, and I wanted to share it with you because I thought it was wonderful to really look at this. Because, a lot of people ask me, how do I inspire my team? How do I motivate them, right? That's the space I live in most of the time. Or how I get rid of conflict or the toxicity. And that's where I usually come in, and I'm like, it's easy. But here's the thing that I really want all of you to remember is that we can't tackle this layer until we tackle this layer. And so if you think about, the hierarchy of needs that you probably are all aware of, right? We have our basic needs. And so during this chaos that has ensued, our basic needs are just knowing that we're going to be healthy and that we're going to be kept safe. And so we need to absolutely go overboard with that if we need to make people feel that way if you're bringing them back to work. If you're not doing that, it's very hard to make them feel connected and inspired and that they're contributing, right? So I thought this was funny. So this church gets it. They have to disinfect the furniture, right? And so what I want to tell you is, yeah, let's do that, right? Let's overdo it, in fact. And I would say, if you have a big building or organization where there's a lot of different areas, one of the things that you can also do is put sensors in the areas and have it give you data. Can you tell I'm big on data, behavioral data, all that? Data speaks. But have it give you data on how frequented those areas are, so that that if you have spots that a lot of people congregate in or that are, very high traffic areas, that you really do an even deeper cleaning and communicate that to your people, right? Let them know all of these things that you're doing. Anyway, so there are a lot of things that you can do to make them feel like you're going to protect their health as much as you can, right, in the workplace, and you're going to make sure that they're safe. So lots of resources on that, lots of wellness programs. I'm doing lunch and learns for a lot of people, just actually 30 minutes, not even a whole hour, of just things like yoga, meditation, and just fun things that gives them a break. But just show them that you care. This is the time to bring out all that stuff. If you have an EAP program that offers those things or other things, this is the time to start kind of saying, hey, this week we're going to focus on this, right? Or, Jim is going to share his Spotify list with us so that if we want to work out on Tuesday together at 1, we can all use the same list or whatever, just things that connect you, but also make them feel safe. Okay, let's talk about the culture. So we've talked a little bit about that. So I don't know if you guys are familiar with this. This is the Bridges model of change and transition. And so when I give my sessions on change and transition and helping people understand how it's different for everybody, it's important to understand the difference, right? So when I ask, so what is the difference between change and transition? I get a whole bunch of different answers. Because we don't have a lot of time to go through, getting your answers. Now, if you were all on video, I might just call on you, but I'm just going to tell you. And so change, again, is that external piece. It's the part that really we have no effect over. We don't have any power over it. It's the thing that happened in March, right? Or earlier than that. We had no say in it. It just happened. Right? If our company is starting to use a new CRM, right? They didn't ask us if we're okay with it. Right? They're just saying we're going to use this. It's more robust. It's what we need it. I don't care if you like it or not, right? It's a change that's happening. So everyone experiences the change the same day, right? It's something that happens. Psychologically, with that change, we're all in very different places, right? So I mentioned earlier my son being so excited about this stay at home and not having to go to school so he could study. He was at the new beginning, like ready to go, gung-ho on this whole thing within hours, right? My daughter was stuck in the ending phase in the very bottom left, which is, she was just white knuckling the whole thing and would not agree that this is what we have to do. And she kept trying to persuade us that she can just go to Starbucks or she could just meet her friends or what, like it was our decision, right? And she just couldn't let go of what was old. And she had a harder time, but she made it through. And now she's in the swamp, almost at the new beginning. And the swamp is the neutral zone. I call it the swamp because it feels like you're stuck in mud. It feels like you left land, the ending, the thing you knew, the comfort place, and you're not in the new land, or you haven't stepped foot on the new land, which is the new beginning, where you're excited about the new beginning or the great things about whatever the change is, right? That you've actually shifted your mindset and are now happy with it or okay with it, right? So that neutral zone is where you're just stuck in muck and there's chaos. And in the workplace, I can always tell when people are stuck in the neutral zone because they start to gossip a lot. They start to create stories, and it's a game of telephone, and they create stories because they don't know the truth. And it's either miscommunication, no communication, or the CEO or the leadership team is just not saying anything. And so they're making up their own story, and they're saying this is what's happening and creating a big problem, right? So all of these things can create physical problems for us, right? Because in our brain, when we're in a state of stress, anxiety, fear, we have more cortisol being produced. And cortisol acts as like a veil to our prefrontal cortex. So, sometimes you'll notice that I speak and then I have to say it again. It's because I'm thinking in Spanish and then it has to translate and then it comes out of my mouth. So just in case. So, but anyway, the cortisol is that veil. And so it disallows us from really thinking clearly and from moving forward. It kind of keeps us in this like position, this fetal position, right? Because you can't see straight. And it damages or compromises our immune system, right? So there's a lot of benefit to kind of getting out of the ditch and out of the swamp as quickly as possible, but also not too quickly, right? You want to go through the process. The big takeaway here, after you understand all that, and tell me if you don't, because sometimes I think I'm clear, but I'm not, is that everybody, you see all those little dots, everybody's in a different place. So even though the change has happened, even everybody in my house is in a totally different place, right? So that's the psychological piece where we're all in different places. So when you're coaching your managers and your leaders on how to motivate and engage and do all those wonderful things that we always talk about, one of the first things you might want to ask is, tell me how they're showing up, right? What are they doing? What are their behaviors around this change? And let's start to figure out where they're at psychologically so that we can pull them into the new beginning. Or if they're in the new beginning, maybe we can have them help us bring other people along, right? So I thought it was really important to kind of talk about that. That picture is so cute. So changing the lens, it's all about reframing. I think all of you are very clear on, how reframing works and shifting mindset and all that kind of stuff. And my point is, you know what? We can do it. And furthermore, you can help other people do it. And one of the main benefits is your physical being, right? We want people to stay safe. We want their immune systems to stay strong. So if that's the argument that you have to use it for people to listen to you. But get them back in the right state of mind if they're not. And then another thing that I'm noticing is that people are struggling with being real, especially if they're CEOs that never really show anything but their business side. And I put a picture of that beautiful lady with the gray hair because, frankly, that's what's happening, right? And I think the little byline on that was, that's the hottest new hair trend in 2020. But it's just, look, this is how I am. Vilma and I were talking the other day about, I showed up to our video conference and I was wearing a sweatshirt and just my hair in a ponytail and no makeup. And I just didn't want to adult that day, and the thing is, it's okay, right? I mean, it is okay. The important thing is that people see that you're human. And if you can coach your CEOs on how to do that, how to be a relational leader instead of a leader that's based on my status, it's going to make the world of difference in terms of, do people want to work for your company or not? And how much do they want to come to work versus how much do they just need to come to work? This is another one that I thought was so great. The picture itself just makes me feel so warm inside. But I thought that was really funny where they're saying, you know what, you could talk to your plants, you could talk to your pets. The minute that they start to reply to you, that's when you probably should start to worry. My buddy at Yale University, Mark Brackett, has come up with this acronym for how to help businesses deal with emotions in the workplace. And it's, I think, very effective. And one of the things that I want to give you is this tool to help, again, your executives that have a hard time with this. Because let's be real, not everybody wants to talk about feelings. Most people don't ever, right? And you can use all of this stuff, by the way, at home as well as at work. In fact, I've been doing a lot of marriage counseling lately and family counseling for my CEOs and my clients. But here's a quick rundown, okay? So somebody's in a state of fear and doubt instead of in a state of strength and power and trust, right? And so you see that because their behavior, not their best behavior, right? And they're causing some problems for themselves mostly, but for other people too. So if you can coach them out of this, remember the first thing to not do, this is a do not, is come on, it's no big deal. Just get out of it. We're all fine. Don't ever say that, right? Don't worry, the worst thing you could say too, right? It's like that's never worked and will never work. The first thing you want to do is just guide them through recognizing what they're feeling, because I think most of the frustration is that they don't even know. So it's just naming it. It's, what are you feeling? And don't give them options. Just let the silence be and have them come up with what they're feeling. So recognizing that by calling it out. The next one is just accepting that that's where I am at this moment. It sucks. It's horrible. In fact, I think Jim Gitney's on the phone here. I had one of those days, and he got on the phone with me and he just kind of helped me out of my ditch. And just because I do that all day long for the last 30 years for other people doesn't mean that it doesn't happen to me. And I was so grateful for him because through his counsel, I was able to just accept and not judge the fact that I was there, because I had a lot of judgment around it. You guys are in HR. It's like, we're human resources. We should have it all together. No, right? We're human too. So it's that acknowledge and accept without judging. And then get curious, right? So now that you've named it and you know what it is, that's my 5-minute mark. Now that you know that what it is and you've named it, then get curious about, well, what is it that I need right now? Coach yourself out of it. And then this works really well with my clients that are in a ditch or in the valley or in the swamp. When you name your emotions and you know what's happening, what you're feeling, just imagine yourself on a bridge and the emotions are in the water underneath you and they're just literally just flowing from the left to the right, and you're watching them go by and you're detached from them. You're completely detached from them, and now you're looking at it like, oh, that's so interesting that I feel that way. And then, of course, self-care. And if you want that chair, I'm sure that if we bulk buy, we can get a good price. All right, we only have a few minutes left. So I'm going to focus on the most important things. When it comes to senior leadership, that is where I say we need data on their behavior, because we need a crisis response team so that if anything happens again, not this big, maybe even, something that's minor, but we need to act quickly. We know who that team is, and we know that we have the right people on that team. And the only way you're going to be able to predict the success of that, instead of going through your intuition, is to know what their drivers are, what their needs are, and then how they're likely to behave. And when I say behavioral data, that's what I'm talking about. We can really predict how people will act. Yeah, I'm a behavior strategist, right? This is important to me, but we can predict it. So let's try to do that. We talked about distance bias. Change, it's here, it's happening. So anybody who's still stuck in the ending, remind them that every new beginning starts with an ending and that it's okay. And now we can start to talk about their fears and reframe the situation so that they can now go through the swamp and into the new beginning as soon as possible. Your operating model. So if your executives have to now start thinking of business completely differently, they want to start looking at how they're operating. They want to start looking at their strategy, what's going on with their supply chain. Again, shout out to Jim Gitney. Let me put you in touch with him if any of you have that situation or know of people that are in need of a new strategy and really rethinking the way that they're operating right now, because he's the guy, the expert in that. And then, redefining the metrics. So we have had metrics in our organizations for a long time. The metrics that I usually don't see when I go into an organization is, you guessed it, people metrics. And what is the very, very thing that makes or breaks your results? The people, right? Okay, top performers. That's another one. They're your flight risks right now. They're huge flight risks. Don't think that they're not. So we want to make sure that we give them what they need and we keep them here and we give them those growth opportunities. That's what they're after. They want to innovate. They want to think. Let them. Okay. The people that are left at the company, that are still working at the company when you have layoffs, I've had some counseling sessions with some of them. They're experiencing a lot of survivor's guilt. So it's important for people managers and the executives to talk about that. Don't just pretend it's not happening. Just because they didn't get laid off doesn't mean that they're not going through their own stuff, right? Okay. Oh, all right. I'm talking so fast. So expectation does not mean agreement. This is another big one that I've been trying to tell all of my clients. So I hear this. Well, I think they're watching Netflix and eating bonbons, right? And so I say, well, what are they producing? Well, I mean, they're doing okay, but I can't see them. And you know what? I called them at 7 a.m. and they didn't answer my call. Or I called them at 3 p.m. They didn't answer my call. And my question is, did you tell them that whenever you call, they have to drop everything to answer your call? Did you tell them what your expectations are? And then did they tell you that they're agreeing to that? Because if they didn't, and we hold them to it, that's really unfair. And there's never going to be accountability. Expectation does not equal agreement. And what's in your head, even though you think it's obvious, like I'll tell you a really great example. My construction CEO, one of them, said, my superintendents should know that they should not leave the job site until the very last person is gone. Well, one of his superintendents was coming in at 5 a.m. and leaving at 3 p.m, still working well over many hours. But he wasn't doing that. And to my CEO, that was obvious. Now, he has been doing that for 3 years and nobody has said anything. And now we're calling him out on it and saying, what in the world? We're gonna lay you off. You're not doing what you should be doing. This guy has never heard of that. So please don't let your executives assume it's not okay, right? We need agreement. It's not just about the expectations. I have a whole other thing on meetings and meeting virtually that we can talk about offline because we're running out of space. But there's a lot to talk about. And there's just never enough time, let's be honest. But look, I offer you this. If you guys need any, a sounding board or any help with a particular situation, I won't charge you my usual coaching fee. I will just let me know that you're on this call, and I am happy to walk you through, some possible things that you can do based on your personal situation. I'm going through the PowerPoint real quick to see if there's anything I really want to, but just know that, right? We're running out of time, but you've got me. So you've got my information, or you will have it. So call me, email me, text me, and I will be there for you, because this is my mission and this is my life goal, is to make sure that everybody loves going to work and that people feel excited to come to work. So I'll do anything to make that happen. So with that, I'm a couple minutes late. I'm so sorry, Chase, but I'm going to give this back to you.